Gonna get, and that was very, very quick. Okay. So I want to actually welcome everybody to Porch Talk Live worldwide. Let it rip where nothing is off of the table. What we do is we talk about everything. And I love the idea of, if you think about it, when we used to be on the porch, okay, you got to know all of your neighbors. You even got to know people you didn't know, because if a lot of people were outside and they would have fun, as people were walking by, they would stop, they would speak, they kind of hang out on the gate and stuff and just kind of talk. You knew who was getting married, if somebody was ill and you need to help them out, if anybody was having a hard time. So I love the idea of the porch. And as I always say, do you want me to come over to your porch or do you want to stay on mine? I say, and we just enjoy ourselves. And this is what this is all about. We have Allison here, and we are going to be talking about some great stuff today. So before I really get started, because once I get to talking, let me tell you something. I don't quit. So I'm going to introduce our special guest, Allison Williams. I'm going to give her a few minutes to kind of tell you who she is, what she does, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what I know about her. Okay, so we're going to get started. Allison, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Pastor Dorothy, and thank you so much for the invitation to come onto your porch and have a chat. I do appreciate that. Pardon me. I am a transformation mindset coach. And this came about because, I had what I call a very comfortable life. It wasn't exciting, but it was comfortable and everything was going okay. And then suddenly my whole world fell in on my head. There were job issues, there were health issues, and then my marriage broke down. 25-year-old marriage broke down. So I then became the complete opposite of who I was. I went from being outgoing and confident to being very withdrawn, anxious, submissive, and just not me. Now, I was really lucky that I had a wonderful mother who brought us up. She was a woman ahead of her time. She brought us up to be very sort of comfortable in who we are, to believe in yourself, to stand up for what you believe in, and in a way, to love yourself. Although in those days, we didn't realize it was called self-love. So what I realized when I was going through all this turmoil and feeling really terrible was I wanted to get back to who I used to be. And by chance, I ended up at a coaching school weekend. So I signed up, worked on my own stuff, and then decided, you know what? I really want to help other women to be able to step into their sense of who they are and feel really good about it. So then I became a self-love coach, and I call myself an alchemist because if we know from the book The Alchemist, he turns lead into gold. And of course, from the book, we know that the gold is already in us. The lead is often in our head, it's our thinking, it's our programming, but the gold is who we are because we are all born magnificent, is my thinking. So that's kind of what I sort of, if you like, my journey and now what I do in my coaching work. And I have lots of modalities. I'm NLP master coach, I'm a hypnotherapist. I do something called bling readings, which are nothing like tarot. They're more like a laser coaching session using affirmation cards. And I love to bring all of this to the table to help my clients to move from where they are, which is often the place they don't want to be, to get to a place they do want to be, living life on their terms.
Wow. Allison, kind of share a little bit more about the various things that you do. I heard you say that I know I'm going to just say you're a love alchemist, but you also said that you do hypnosis and a few other things. So kind of share with our audience a little bit about the other things that you do before we get into our conversation.
Sure. So I'm an NLP master coach, and NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. And the words themselves tell you that it's about, using language to wire your brain. And that way you are much more effective in how you go through life. It's also about communicating, how to make your communication much more impactful. And it's about learning, how we are programmed so that we can sort of be the creators of our life. So that's pretty much neuro NLP. Now, hypnosis and NLP are really quite closely related because they both talk to the unconscious mind. And what I love about hypnotherapy, and I've done this with a couple of people, I'm currently doing the Mind Valley course with Paul McKenna, who's a British hypnotherapist, and he's fabulous. And what we're doing now is we're using we're not using scripts, we're just using our own sort of knowledge, our own skills, and trusting that we have everything we need to be able to move our clients forward. And the hypnosis, again, is all about being able to get into the unconscious mind to make things happen. Because 5% of the way we operate is from our conscious mind, 95% is our unconscious mind. That's our beliefs, our programming, all of our values, all of those things, our memories get stored in the unconscious mind. And that's how we live our life. So most of us are living our life either in the past, beating ourselves up or feeling browbeaten by our past, or we're worrying about the future. And so we don't focus on the present. And it is a gift, like the word, it is a present. And of course, today we are making memories of the future. So unless we make today a really good day, then when today becomes our past, if that makes sense, I'm doing a Maxwell Smart, when today becomes our past, it's not going to work for us. So let's work on today what we can change. And a lot of that is going back and rewriting our programming from the past. So that is very much what I do.
And that's great. I think just exactly what you said. A lot of us do have a habit of living in the past, and we don't know how to break it. One of the things that God shared with me a few years ago, because I was kind of doing the same thing. I was running after friendships, trying to keep those friendships alive from years and years ago. And one thing that I hadn't really got a hold of was that with everybody that we meet, we don't necessarily stay with them a total lifetime. They come into our lives for certain reasons and they stay for a short period of time. So I'm running, trying to keep friendships alive and trying to make new friendship connections, stay relevant. And God said, you know what? If you leave the past behind, I'll give you a future that you can walk into. He said it'll be like no other. And actually, when I stopped, it's so strange. I stopped running after the past, and the past started chasing me. Okay. So it got so much better. So I love that. I love the idea that, hey, you know what? Regardless of what went on in my life back then, okay, that it doesn't make me, I don't have to stay stuck in it, okay? I can do something totally different and I can get better results. So I said I was going to share with everyone just a little bit more about what I found out about you. And it's this, Allison helps clients release limited beliefs and fears, particularly imposter syndrome. And we're going to have her talk to us a little bit about that by using a powerful blend of coaching and neuro-logistics programming and energy healing. And I've been through energy healing and it is amazing. Her unique BEST model focuses on clients' belief system, empowerment, self-love, and transforming to thrive, ensuring that you build self-reliance and create a life that's genuinely loved. So when we think about her, we think of her being a personal guide or maybe a personal chef for the soul that carefully selecting. She does this for you. She gathers the right tools to nurture the heart and empower clients to live on their own terms. And I love this. But I want to kind of talk today a little bit about imposter syndrome. I love that. We're going to talk about when we have limited beliefs and fear, how do we walk away from that? How do we deal with those things? So let's see if we can start with the imposter syndrome.
So the interesting thing is that imposter syndrome is generally experienced by those who are high achievers. Now, Albert Einstein had imposter syndrome. And the beautiful late Dr. Maya Angelou had imposter syndrome. Apparently, when she published her 11th book, she kind of thought, wow, like, will I be found out now? Or something bizarre. And we all know how amazing she was. I just love that woman. Excuse me. And so, people who are high achievers have high standards. So they keep wanting to meet those standards and they often feel that they're falling short. So
Mhm.
they feel not good enough, right? And this is what can get us onto this hamster wheel of trying our best, feeling, and nobody else says that. It's all in our own head, right? And often with imposter syndrome, somebody would say, "Oh my gosh, Pastor Dorothy, you are amazing." But if you have imposter syndrome, you think, yeah, but if they knew the real me, they'd think differently, right? Or something along those lines. So we undermine ourselves all the time. There are also things when you have imposter syndrome, paradoxically, one part of you thinks, well, I can do that job quite easily, but we don't go for it because we don't feel good enough. And then if somebody else gets it, we think, gee, why didn't I get it? I know I'm good enough. And then it just creates a vicious cycle. So it's not logical because as humans, we're not logical, we're feeling beings. And so this imposter syndrome, if it takes hold of you, as I say, it can create a taproot that is really hard to pull out. But once you know, I'm all about why. So once you kind of know why, where it comes from, then for me, it's easier then to help my client to pull it out. And that's where my coaching and my neuro-linguistic programming and all the other tools that I have, that's where they come into being. Because we go into why is this so, right? And a lot of that is from our past, a lot of it is from our DNA in caveman days. So there's a whole, many kind of reasons why this happens.
Okay, and something else that Allison helps with, and that is limited beliefs and fear. And when you really don't have an understanding of what it is you want in life, the direction that you're going in, it can be very, very scary sometimes. So let's talk a little bit about limited beliefs.
Limiting beliefs, again, it's sort of a little bit like the imposter syndrome. It's where you feel that, either you're not good enough or there's something that has happened in your past that makes you either unworthy or unlovable or that you don't belong. And those are the three universal fears. I don't belong, I'm not worthy, and I'm not lovable. And that comes back to it's in our DNA from caveman days where we needed the tribe to survive. If we were by ourselves, we wouldn't be able to get warmth, we wouldn't be able to fight off the saber-toothed tigers, and we definitely wouldn't be able to get enough food for ourselves. So we needed to be in the tribe. And if you didn't belong, if you weren't loved, if you weren't worthy enough, you'd be thrown out. So this is a fear
Mhm.
that has come down through the generations. However, these days we don't have saber-toothed tigers. We actually have psychological fears, and that's what runs us. And there's things like social media and a lot of the expectations, either from society or our parents or wherever, our culture, can really be part of the things that undermine us because we all want to belong. If we don't belong, we feel rejected. We all want to feel worthy. If we don't feel worthy, then we don't we don't allow ourselves to receive good things, and or we self-sabotage. If something good comes our way, whether it's a relationship or a job, if we don't feel worthy, we'll kind of self-sabotage. And we don't feel loved, in which case we feel it's kind of again like a vicious cycle. You kind of feel I'm not lovable. And if you don't love yourself, as I say, it's very hard for someone else to love you. And like most of what I talk about, there's a whole many layers attached to that. So I will stop so that we can have a conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that I remember teaching a program a few years back on releasing the fear in your life. And one of the things that I found out is that when you take the F off of fear, you have ears, okay? And a lot of it is, what are you hearing? What is going on? What's being said that is causing that fear in your life? But not only taking the F off of fear, if you start with the alphabet and you start putting letters in front of fear, you'll find out that fear can be something sweet in your life because there's good fear and there's bad fear.
Mhm.
Good fear warns us about things that are coming our way or that's yet to come. And then we know that there is bad fear that we tend to just be so frightful of something that it really it sometimes it causes us a illness. We get so caught up with fear. But I'm glad to know that one of the things that you're doing is you're talking to people about self-love. You're causing them to do a transformation in their life when they come to you, that a lot of these things that they can release out of their lives and they don't have to deal with them. That even comes down to the thing where is you'll find yourself sometimes thinking, well, even though I may be a little fearful, um, I don't know where it's coming from. So we have to kind of dig deep to figure out where that fear is coming from. What do you have to say about that, Allison?
Oh, absolutely. And as you say, I love the fact that you've talked about how, fear in its positive has is helpful. It has a message to protect us, right? But fear,
Hmm.
if you're on the other extreme, can absolutely undermine who we are, and it can really get us into paralysis where we don't want to live our life. A lot of people feel stuck at home because they're too fearful to go out, right? And that is an extreme case. So fear can actually stop us living the life that we're meant to live. So having an understanding of what kind of fear is this? Is this a fear that's keeping me safe? Is it reasonable? Or is this a fear that I've manufactured? Is it in my head? Because fear
Mm.
is learned. We only have there are only two fears that we are born with: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. And those are naturally about our physical safety because that's how we've been designed to keep ourselves physically safe. But all other fears have been learned one way or the other. We've either picked it up from our parents or our families or whatever it might be. And quite often, especially if it starts from when we're young, we make it bigger than it needs to be. And then it can get hold of us. So understanding what the fear is, what's it trying to tell you? That's often when you sort of mention that. What's it trying to tell me? And then being able to unravel that, I feel is a great way to move forward.
Okay. Well, one of the things we're going to start getting into our questions. Okay. So we're here on the show for 30 minutes. And this is something that I believe is a good topic to talk about because when it comes to self-love, you have a self-love booklet
Mhm.
with some simple steps in it. Can you give us an example of one of those steps that you have inside of that booklet?
Well, you know what? It's been a long time since I did that booklet, Dr. Pastor Dorothy. So
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what's in the booklet, but a lot of things that I do anyway in terms of self-love is realizing that, we all have strengths, we all have talents. Even though we might not acknowledge them, we all have something we're good at. And they're the things someone says, gee, Pastor Dorothy, you're so generous. I love being with you because you're so much fun. I love how you're so open-minded. Those are all strengths. Those are all the things that you're really good at. But we dismiss it because it's kind of part of us and we don't think of it as a strength, right? But there are other things you might be strong at. You might be a really good runner, or you might be great at music, or writing is one of my superpowers, so I'm a very good writer. But all of those things are learned. They're skills, right?
Mm.
And in terms of being generous and kind, their attitude. So all of those skills, knowledge, and attitude can be learned. And if our strengths can be learned, then our weaknesses can also be learned to be overcome. And I just think once we know that and we can flip it, it's a game changer.
It is. It actually is. I love the idea of being able to love myself. Okay. Sometimes it's easy for us to love everybody else, but how do you love yourself enough that you stop taking care of everybody else and you begin to focus in on yourself, and give yourself some of that same love that you're putting out there for everybody else. And I think when you can love yourself, and that means it's whatever you're going through, whatever bear you're carrying on your back, as I call it, or what have you. Once you acknowledge all of that, I'm not the best that I could possibly be. I wish I was, or yeah, I made mistakes. I definitely could raise my hand on that. I made mistakes and everything, but that does not stop me from loving myself. Now, I may not love at the moment who I am, but I can love the person that I'm becoming or the person that I will become down the line. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I love that what you've been talking about as well. So, part of that being able to love yourself. And for some people, it's really hard. They don't know how to do that because nowhere in their life ever has anybody shown them that they are worth loving. And as I said, that's one of the three universal fears. A lot of people, like, people who are like me who've been lucky enough to have happy families and parents who cared, etc. Like I take it for granted. And it's only now since working with other people I realize no, not everybody's been lucky enough to have that experience. So being able to give them the awareness that doesn't matter what's happened in the past. And our parents did the best they could with what they had. So being able to accept that whatever, however people have treated you, it's about who they were. It's not about who you are. And looking at where you are now, accepting that you're not perfect, but you deserve is really a good place to start. So, one of the things I do is sort of say, firstly, stop the negative self talk. We have so much
Mm.
negative self talk going on. So, stop it. And then stop using shame, blame, guilt words like I must or I should. All those words, get them out of your vocabulary, right? That's another thing to sort of start. You can start that today, right here and now. The strengths and weaknesses thing is a really good thing to do as well. And then much harder is forgiveness. To forgive not just other people who have hurt you, but also to forgive yourself.
Absolutely. I think when people actually really understand that it's not proving to everybody else that you're worthy, it's about proving it to yourself. Now, it doesn't matter. Well, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter because sometimes what other people think or say about us matters to other people. I'm getting to a point where I'm worried about only what matters to God, and that's it when it comes to me, not what
Mm.
everybody else has to say about me. And as I said before, self-love is about defining your own life, what's happening with you, whatever I've done or whatever I'm going through, it doesn't define my future. It doesn't stop me from having the power to grow. I can heal from whatever that is, but also I have the power to choose, you know. And because I have that power, I can choose to
Mhm.
love me and I can choose to be me. I can choose to heal. I can choose to grow. And I can choose to learn how to be a better me.
I love that.
Yeah. So, one of the other things that I want to talk about with you is um, helping or showing people how to live life on their own terms.
Yeah, that can be quite a journey, and it's really helpful to have someone there to support you because, as we say, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up, right? And it's
Yes.
really helpful if you've got someone who can put their hand out to help you up again. So whether it's a friend, whether it's a parent, whether it's a work colleague, and if you're lucky enough to find a really good coach, that's something you can do as well. So having people who will help you up is really part of, being able to move forward. But living life on your terms really comes back to accepting that you're not perfect, but you're pretty good as you are. And I think most people have some sort of belief in a higher power. So whether it's the universe or spirit or God or whatever it might be, if you're put on this earth, you're put on here for a higher purpose. Purpose bigger than just who you are, right? And getting to realize that you have gifts, getting to that strengths and weaknesses. So everything I do kind of adds sort of contributes to being able to accept who you are, warts and all, as they call it, so you can move forward to living an empowered life. So doing these baby steps of seeing, well, you know what, I'm here for a purpose and I am deserving as much as the next person.
Mhm.
And a lot of that again comes down to just accepting that what happened in my past, I can learn from, right? So those
Abs-
are the lessons that make me stronger. I always say pain brings a gift as long as you're willing to look into it. And you can use that to learn from your lessons and help other people to grow from their lessons as well, or even to grow from your lessons so they don't have to repeat them. So, all of those are ways to realize, you know, I have something to offer. Even my pain, which has really brought me down, is something that I can use for myself to make myself better and to contribute to the world. And when we look at how we can help other people and take the focus off ourselves, suddenly life has a whole different meaning. Life becomes meaningful and purposeful. And that's why someone like Simon Sinek talks about the big why. What is your big why? And for most of us, our big why is outside of ourselves, right? And when we can get into that and take the focus of I'm not worthy and look at, well, you know what? Whatever I've been through has had a purpose. And I'm going to now use that purpose to make life better for myself and for others. That is a great way, I feel, to sort of start off with. But the other thing in terms of living an empowered life, I find for me, which is something that I definitely do now, is finding out what my values were and then creating my boundaries that connect to the values. So, you know,
That,
a lot of people talk about boundaries, but they don't keep them because they don't know how to set boundaries.
mm.
And when you know what your values are and you connect your boundaries to your values, it's so much easier to live in alignment with your true self.
You know, that's so strange. One of my other speakers was talking about setting boundaries as well. And I do believe that we need to actually be our authentic self, just be you, whoever you are, And if you don't know who you are, then you need to rediscover. That means that's where Allison comes in and connect with her so you can find out who you are. And once you find out who you are, we need to know exactly what are your desires? What do you identify with? Okay. And what do you need to continue to move forward? For me, it definitely is about setting boundaries, but not just writing boundaries out or just thinking boundaries in my head. I got to speak them out loud to the people that surround me so they actually know how far they can come and how far they can go when it comes to me. And then also knowing how to define what success means to me, whether it's in your personal life, your business life, or your spiritual life. What does it mean? Is it a one size fit all? Is it various things? Could it be in a relationship? Could it be in a friendship? And everything that you do, you don't have to be uh, so to a point where you apologize for, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry for that. You got to do all of that. Be empowered unapologetically. Just be empowered and just have whatever confidence you need in order to move forward with your own life. And I know that Allison has steps that can walk you actually through the process. Now, one of the other things that we want to talk about is I was looking at some of your material and it talks about moving the needle, the vision, the commitment, the action, the consistency that we put into our own lives and facing the things that we actually need to overcome and the challenges in order to get to where it is that we want to get to. I know that was a mouthful, but if you caught on, you could answer or talk a little bit about that, moving the needle.
Sure. Absolutely. So, you know, moving the needle, as I talk about, is it's about those little things that make, as someone who calls, one of my coaches calls it a quarter-inch turn. If you make a quarter-inch turn, it's amazing how you will be able to correct your course. Because depending on the course you're going, every quarter-inch turn will take you off, but every quarter-inch turn will get you back on track. So having those little sort of steps to take can really help you. So I've talked about your strengths and your weaknesses. That's a really big one. Your self-talk is another big one. Knowing your values and boundaries, and I actually have a free values course that, I'm quite happy for people to sort of look at. In fact, the reason I created the course and made it free is I want the whole world to know what their values are. And I want the whole world to know then how to create boundaries connected to their values so they can live in alignment. The other thing in terms of moving the needle that's now gone out of my head, I talk about living at cause. And living at cause is one of my favorite coaching models. It's also known as living above the line or living below the line. And a really good sort of way to say it is that in NLP, in neuro-linguistic programming, we say everything is feedback. There's no such thing as failure. And, Thomas Edison being the one that most people talk about, 10,000, attempts to create the light bulb. Imagine if he'd given up after 100 or 1,000. Well, we'd still have light, but we'd be talking about Nikola Tesla who did that because
Mm.
Tesla was quite on his heels. It wouldn't be Edison getting all the kudos. So knowing whether you're kind of blaming yourself or blaming your parents or blaming the environment or the economy or your boss or whatever doesn't get you anywhere. It keeps you stuck. Whereas when you take responsibility for yourself, then it changes things. So I'm not saying you let people off the hook. What I'm saying is say, how they behave is on them. How I respond to that is on me. So if you're being really nasty and horrible, I can be nasty and horrible back. Or I can say, you know what, Pastor Dorothy, when you're in a better mood, I'll come back and we can chat. Or you come back and chat to me, right? Or whatever it might be, because I'm now taking responsibility for myself. And living at cause is an amazing way to live an empowered life. So my two things, living at cause and getting in touch with your values, are super, super important for living an empowered life because you are then true to yourself. You're not allowing anyone else to control you or to influence how you're behaving. You are being who you want to be because it makes you feel good.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. We're up on the hour. Let me say this, and then we're gonna finish up with our questions, and we're gonna close out this section. So I want to invite the listeners to Porch Talk Live Worldwide. Let it rip every Friday at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, where you'll find me, Pastor Dr. Dorothy Ross, and my partner, that is the fabulous Camille Robb here. Whether we have a guest or we're just together talking and enjoying life, we want to invite you to stop by on our porch and have a little fun and a little conversation alongside of us. So, Allison, one of the other questions that I want to ask you is, can you share one of the most powerful shifts that people can expect to receive when they work with you?
Well, there's so many, but probably the most powerful I would find is forgiveness. A lot of people find it really hard to forgive, but when we unpack it and we really go into, what is holding on to lack of forgiveness costing you? Two of my favorite quotes. One is from Socrates who says, you know, having hate in your heart is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And there's a Buddhist proverb that says, holding on to anger is like holding on to hot coal. The
Mm,
only one getting burnt is you. So let that coal go, right? And as I say, forgiving the other person doesn't mean that they were right. You can say what you did was absolutely wrong. That was a terrible thing to do. But I forgive you, not because you deserve to be let off the hook, but because I deserve not to carry it on anymore. I'm now ripping it out of my heart. I'm ripping it out of my head. I'm ripping it out of my life. So that is a super, super powerful thing to do. And if I can say to your listeners, one really good way to do that is to write a letter. Write
mm,
a letter to the person or the people who have wronged you the most and say, you know what, Alison, you did this and I really hated you for that. And I know hate's a really strong word. But you know what? I'm forgiving you because I'm not going to carry this on in my life anymore. When you did that, it made me feel like this, and I really didn't like that. But I'm letting that go because I deserve better. So write the letter, don't send it. And even if the person's dead, you can still write the letter. And then maybe burn it because I'm not really a big fan of keeping stuff that's negative, right? Burn it and then write a letter to yourself, forgiving yourself. because paradoxically, we kind of tend to blame ourselves for a lot of victims of crime, tend to sometimes blame themselves. What did I do to bring it on? Did I start it? Is there something I said or whatever? That's rubbish, right? Forgive yourself for the things that you didn't know and then move on.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've heard about unforgiveness is that it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah,
And it is sad that some people just, they'll never learn how to forgive somebody that has hurt them. And they just don't understand that if you don't release that hate on the inside of you, it'll turn into like a disease and it will definitely eat you up. It'll tear your life up.
yeah,
So we know that that is something that you can also help people with if they're going through it. If that's something that they really want to release out of their life, it can be done. It it
absolutely.
may not be something that happens overnight, but you can start the process, the journey towards forgiveness.
Yeah.
And not only that, I want to close out our question and answer session with as you're helping people to overcome obstacles in their life and the challenges that they face every day. Um, I believe you have a journal that's called Value Journal Guide.
Uh, no, not me. I don't think.
And that is, oh, that's not yours?
No.
All right. Well, now,
Maybe it's something I should do though.
yeah. The basically what it's all about is with me, because I am a pastor and I minister, a lot of times I'm talking on things about challenges. If you, whatever the problem is or the issue you got going on in your life, if you challenge it, it will change. If you
Yeah,
never step up and you face that obstacle, face that challenge, guess what? It will always be there. And I always do a what if. What if you could walk up to a mountain and instead of climbing the mountain or going around the mountain, you could speak to it. And as you begin to speak to the mountain, that mountain begins to melt down before you. And as it begins to melt down before you, that ground where that mountain is become fertile land where you can actually reap a harvest from. Okay. And there's nothing like being outside in the spring or in the summertime and breathing in the fresh air, seeing flowers and grass everywhere, and just laying out, having fun and enjoying yourself. That means a lot to me. And I can't wait until the springtime comes where I can get out and I can start doing some things. And the for me, thinking that the journal guide would be a guide to self-love, where you begin to look, and I'm talking about the audience, not you, Allison.
yeah,
They could actually look into their lives and begin to utilize it as something to release every day, right? Something that's going on in your life that you want to get past, almost like a goal. I don't like the word goal.
me
That
neither.
really that works against me, but just writing down whatever that issue is, whatever the problem is, that challenge, that obstacle, whatever it is, writing it down on a page. And then you sit down and figure out if you were talking to someone else, okay, how would you tell them to get past it?
Mhm,
Okay. And for me, that would be a great value journal guide.
mhm.
So I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell people how they can connect with you. Also, give us last words, and we're going to close out for this Friday.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. I love that mountain, example you just gave. So I would like to borrow that if that's okay with you, because that is such a beautiful way. Because reframing what happens to us is really sort of great way to move forward as well. So I really love that. So this is Zoom, right? This is my link tree QR code, and it has all my connections on it, including I do offer a free 30-minute consultation session. And it's not a sales call because I don't like those. It's absolutely a strategy session, right? And we can look at what some of your blocks are and how we can unblock them. Um, so that's something that I would love to, gift people. As far as the last words, I do a lot of courses and a lot of trainings because I'm a bit of a learning junkie. I used to be a teacher, and so I think that's
Wow.
that part of me is still in there, right? Which is why I create courses along with my coaching. And one of the training sessions I was in, they mentioned two things. When we go through life, we tend to say, what does this mean to me? Because it's the meaning you give everything will create either positive or negative. So the person doesn't see you, you say, oh, they ignored me versus they didn't see me. Two totally different interpretations that can create different sort of feelings in your body. And I'd actually say listen to what's happening or tune into what's happening in your body and know that you can change it. You can absolutely, there are lots of resources on the internet. Connect with me. That would be something I'd love to give people. And think, what does it mean to me? And how can I make this meaning more powerful for me? And the other thing that can bring us down is what does it mean about me? And people get stuck in this means that I'm not a good person or it means whatever. And we get stuck in that. So move the needle, start looking at your strengths versus your weaknesses. You can change those and stop your negative self-talk. So that's really what I'd like to end with. I can never keep to one thing.
That's great. That's great. And I want to thank all of the audience that came into view and they're watching this live. But it'll also be in the Facebook group, Porch Talk uh, live worldwide, let it rip. So you can go back and you can watch this over and over again. And if you miss scanning the QR code to get the free gift, make sure you go back and you do that. One thing for sure is that when free gifts are offered, you want to go back and get them. You never know when you're going to need them. Okay. So I want to thank Allison Williams for coming on the show. It has been great. Allison, I'll send you a copy of this. It'll be on my YouTube channel, but I'll also send you a copy letting you know that I do appreciate having you on the show, and we're going to have you back again sometime. Okay. Now, Allison is in Australia, so it's a bit of a jump having her on so early in the morning. But I do appreciate it, and I thank you very, very much.
Likewise, I so appreciate you, Pastor Dorothy. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you and your audience.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I will see everyone next Friday on Porch Talk Live Worldwide. Let it rip. Thank you so much for being here.